Hello, let's talk about Mercury going retrograde in the houses based on the ascendant. So this is what this video is going to cover, every single ascendant. There will be timestamps so you can move ahead, move back, check as many as you want to check, check your partners, your kids. Anyhow, okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to bring in the chart with Mercury retrograde as well. But before I start talking about the signs and the ascendant as well, if you've been following me for a while, you know I work with degrees. I do not work with a general reading fits for all. I have a very detail-oriented Mercury in Virgo, so I really need to keep looking into the degrees of the ascendant. I cannot help. So I have 3 different ascendants for each sign here. We've got early degrees, mid degrees, and late degrees. So depending where your ascendant is going to change which house Mercury is going to be. So a couple of, for the early and the late degrees, Mercury is going to pop from one house to the other. So that's an important detail. And then in the middle degrees, the mid degrees, we'll have Mercury transitioning just to one house the whole time. And this is all based on equal house systems as well. That's another thing I need to say before we move ahead and get into the ascendants. So before we get comments like, hey, but my chart like this, for this ascendant, Mercury should be somewhere. Well, not in my house system. If you're using whole house system, I'm not. Nothing against it. I think it works as well. It just doesn't speak to me. So I much rather have the angles at the beginning of the houses. That's very important to me. So, and specifically the ascendant here in the case of the equal houses. So that's the system I'm using. And in this video, early degrees are 0 to 8 on the ascendant, mid degrees are 9 to 22 degrees, and the late degrees are 23 to 29. All right, with all of that said, you got the details. It will be written in the description as well, so you can reread and you can see any more details about how I divided the degrees as well. And just before we move ahead into Aries rising, I really want to say a few words on this Mercury retrograde. So Mercury goes retrograde 3 weeks, 4 times a year. Is not a huge deal. It's not like this doom and gloom like it sounds like for the amount of memes we have and people saying that everything is going to go wrong under Mercury retrograde and it's such a dreaded time. So it happens fairly often, really, in a year, and it will be a time when we have the opportunity to rethink, reassess, edit, just look back into all the activities that are ruled by Mercury and reassess these activities. Check, what are we doing? How are we doing? Is this the direction we want to take? Is this where we want to be? What can we change to take us where we want to be? And things like that. It's like reassessing our plans. It's a brilliant time to do that. Is it the greatest time to sign a contract? Probably not, unless that's a contract that's coming back to you again. And I think this is a great way of seeing Mercury retrograde manifesting life as well, as when something was gone, but then it's coming back to you. And then that's a great way of using Mercury retrograde as well, because the symbolism is being reflected as a return, as a change of mind, as something that was meant to go that way, but came back this way. All right. So also, considering that Mercury is in Capricorn, this could probably be very much about our material achievements. We're going to be looking back into everything that has a Capricornian flavor, structures in our lives, discipline. How do we do discipline? Do we have enough? Are we applying enough discipline to our co-workers, to our people that works for us? Or, depending which house this Mercury is going to be, but we're going to be thinking Capricorn things about that house. All right. So it could be career direction, goals, material things, material achievements, and so on. So this is also very much under the spotlight with this Mercury retrograde. All right. So I am Fernanda Paiva Hitchhiking Stars. Welcome, and welcome again if you're coming back. So let's have a look at the ascendants and the Mercury in the houses as well. So first and foremost, for the late the late Pisces rising, and that will be from 23 to 29 degrees Pisces, as well as the early degrees Aries. Mercury will be retrograde between the 10th and the 9th house. All right. So it will be moving, crossing over your midheaven at some point, depending on how many degrees, what degree is your midheaven, what degree is your ascendant as well. But for all of you, that's going to be happening. You see Mercury popping to the 9th house there. So for me, that was gonna be something about the 10th house. Is like Capricorn and 10th house, so it's like double career, double whammy of that significance there. Your role in society, what you're doing, how you're advertising yourself, how you're doing your personal brand. You can rethink all of that. You can rethink branding, you can rethink work, career, the structures in your career, changing directions in career as well eventually. It's important as well to be patient with a Mercury retrograde. And that's a funny ask for Aries rising, but we will change our minds potentially. So it's good for us to assess and reassess situations, but not necessarily take action connected to it, unless it's something that's really pressing and is an emergency and we really need to take action. All right. But otherwise, I'd say sit with it. I'd suggest navigate this energy, look at it, see what's being brought up, what is disturbing you. Sorry, I need to turn on the fan. It's really hot in Brazil and I'm trying to do it without the fan, but it's very hard. Okay, so just see what's disturbing you in a situation, what's not really okay in a situation, and how can you change that, but implement those changes later on if you can. All right. But as soon as Mercury moves on to the 9th house as well, that will be something about beliefs that you're going to have to reconsider, to look again, to think about it again. So I think there is a mix between the 10th and the 9th here. It's like, it's a career affair, but then it's like, whoa, actually, it's a belief affair as well. It's like where you go in travels, beliefs, bigger questions, the bigger perspective of life, the bigger philosophical things, and so on. So there is a kind of a connection between these two houses for the early Aries and the late Pisces rising. Now for the mid Aries rising, this Mercury retrograde will be just on your 9th house. So it will be just traveling the 9th house. And it will be about your beliefs, your ideas, your big perspective, your understanding of what the world is about, how the world works, religions, is your work, is your practical, how practical are you being about your beliefs, about your religious sort of outlook in life? Does your work involve any sort of religious philosophical questions as well? Like, is that something that you can merge and you can think about it during this Mercury retrograde? It could be new opportunities or old opportunities that are coming back to you, that are being brought back to you as well. Remember that for most of the time, this Mercury will be trying to Jupiter as well. So there's a kind of a Jupiterian aspect that this Mercury will be doing, which is also resonant with the 9th house. So something that could expand potentially your view, your work, your ambitions, and is going to be there in the atmosphere for you, in the air, up in the air there for you. So it's all going to be in the 9th house for the mid Aries rising. Now for the late Aries rising, so late Aries rising, reminding you that's going to be the 23 to the 29 degree. And also the early Taurus rising, so the late Aries and the early Taurus, so from 0 to 8 degrees Taurus. These Mercury retrograde will go from the 9th to the 8th. So we're going to have a bridge between 9th and 8th house here, and you're going to have a period of 3 weeks to rethink, reassess, revision everything that has to do with 9th as well as 8th, and how they're affecting each other as well. I like to think when we have this sort of threshold crossed by a retrograde planet, we're sort of like dealing with something like the matters of the 9th house. So you're dealing with long journeys, with higher education, with the bigger picture about life, with a philosophical question that's connected to your work in a practical way as well. But then you kind of cross that threshold and you realize that there's some psychological healing that's also part of the question. There's some sort of eighth house matter. There's something about an investment that you've been looking for that might be reoffered to you, maybe with that Mercury trine Jupiter and Mercury going back to your eighth house. It could be someone else's money. It could be some opportunity in that way. Or it could also be something to do with your own psychological process and your own processing of something, your own healing of something that you're doing. So you're healing your mindset about something that has to do with your bigger picture of your career as well, your direction and whatnot. So how you deal with money as well, because Mercury will be the ruler of your second house. So it could be involved in that as well. Thinking that is a Taurus, an early Taurus rising as well in the case with that Gemini in the cusp of the second house, Mercury ruling that. So there's something quite tangible, material of these positions as well. So it could be something like that. But it's important to think is coming from the 9th to the 8th. So you're going to be dealing with these two areas during this period of Mercury retrograde, during the holidays. That's what's going to be happening. Now for the mid degrees Taurus rising, that's from the 9 to the 22 degrees Taurus rising. Mercury will be going retrograde only in your 8th house. So this is all going to be about resources, other people's resources, psychological processing something, healing something, dealing with something. Maybe there's something about work, something about career that's also going to be having an impact in your sense of healing, in your sense of empowerment, in your intimate relationships as well. The 8th house is also intimacy, so something that you're rethinking there in that area as well. But it's going to be on the 8th, in the 8th house only. Now for the late Taurus rising, and that is from the 23rd to the 29th degree, as well as the early Gemini, 0 to 8 degrees Gemini. This Mercury retrograde will be going from the 8th house to the 7th house. Now, for me, in this case, it does seem to have a flavor about partnerships and it's something about shared resources that will end up going into the 7th house as well. So it could be about shared resources, issues around that will then show you some issues in the partnership itself. How do you communicate in the partnership? How do you exchange ideas? How do you vocalize what you want, how you want? Do you have a structure in this communication? Are you able to express yourself clearly? What's going on there? And then again, because it's Capricorn, it could definitely still be bringing work issues to the forefront. So something about work and career and ambitions that will be having an effect on your deep, intimate relationships or your deep psychology that will bleed into your actual one-to-one relationship. So they're going to be interconnected. Those two areas will be under revision. Okay, so mid Gemini rising, Mercury will be going retrograde in the 7th house. So it will only be crossing your 7th house, and it could be partners of all sorts, including business partners, if you have business partners, and really revisiting the situation, revision. Are you both having the same ambitions? Are you both having the same goals? Do you have the same material values, and things like that? Because we can't forget that the sign that Mercury is retrograde is in Capricorn for most of, for a lot of these time that Mercury will be retrograde. It will pop back to Sag. And so we will have that sort of Capricorn Sag flavor as well. It will be very material, very practical, and then it will pop into Sagittarius, which will be more of a vision, a philosophy, an ideal as well. So those two are interweaved and they're going to be there in your house of partnerships, mid Gemini rising. Now, for the late Sag rising and the early Cancer rising, these Mercury retrograde will be popping from the 7th to the 6th house. And again, we've got an earthy house involved with a Mercury in Capricorn as well. So there's something about partnerships, work partnerships, co-workers as well, and ideas, ideals. Like, how do you share this? Are you able to voice it up? How are you, how eloquent are you when it comes to work and the ambitions and the things that you want to accomplish? It could be your love partnerships as well, your husbands, your wives, and whatnot, and how you communicate. How aligned are you in the visions of the future, in the expectations for the future, in your money values as well, how you deal with money and whatnot? So are you aligned? Are you able to share this? Are you able to communicate and talk about this? Or are you working towards two completely different objectives and goals? You're going to have to revisit this. You're going to have to talk about this eventually. So this Mercury retrograde will be showing you this, and it might have an effect on your health as well, because the sixth house is also the health and the well-being, the daily routines, and etc. So it could also be about the effect that the partnerships and the communications in the partnerships and the goals or the lack of goals in common are having on your body and your daily routines as well. Or perhaps you're overworking, you're not spending quality time with your partner. That could also be something that you're going to have to revisit during this Mercury retrograde. All right. Now, for the mid Cancer as well, the mid Cancer, the mid Cancer rising, which will be the 9th till the 22nd degree of Cancer, Mercury retrograde will be only in your 6th house. So it'll be all about your daily routines, your health, healthy habits. Are you a workaholic? Are you working too much? Are you not listening to your inner voice, to your inner needs, to your need for nourishment and nurturing? That's going to be revisited. That's going to be called for you to think again, to work with it again, to think about how you can communicate, how can you change these patterns. It could also be communications with co-workers and something that you might be struggling, and it will be calling your attention to revisit and rethink and work on those relationships as well, and how can you work with these co-workers as well. But it will all be in the 6th house for you, mid Cancer rising. Now, for the late Cancer rising, as well as the early Leo rising, this Mercury retrograde will go from the 6th house to the 5th house. So we're going to have, again, a bridge between these two houses. So between your daily routines, your health, your co-workers, how much are you working? Are you working too hard? Or it will pop back into the 5th, which is hobbies, inner child, children, your own children. So it might be a conversation that you have to have, with your children because you're not spending enough time with them. Or it could be a conversation that you have to have with yourself because you're overdoing in the 6th house and you're bypassing your 5th house and your need for fun and your need to look after yourself. Or it could be your own creative work that you're sort of revisiting and rethinking and editing your writings, editing your pictures that you're painting or your poems or whatever it is that you're creatively bringing into life. So how are you going to revisit this, rethink this, edit this as well? So it will be a 6 and a 5 and a 5th house combination here for you. All right. Now for the mid Leo rising, this Mercury will be retrograde only in your 5th house. So it'll be just the 5th house. So it'll be all about children, inner children, creative endeavors, hobbies, fun, and all these things. And how do you sell these to others potentially? If we're talking about Capricorn, Mercury, do you work with any of these? Do you offer these experiences to other people? So how can you improve that? How can you do that in a healthier way? How can you consider your own fun in the process and so on? So that's going to be there for you, mid-degree Leo rising. All right, it will be all in your 5th house. Now for the late Leo rising and the early Virgo rising, these Mercury will be going retrograde from the 5th to the 4th house. And this is a bridge between hobbies and children and inner children, and, you know, how much fun do you have at work, or how much fun do you sell, or the creative work that you do for others. It will pop right back into your house of family. So it could become a family issue as well, something that you're going to have to redo, rethink, edit, reassess, that one area is affecting the other. How are these two areas working with each other? Are they working well? Are they aligned? Are they not? How fulfilled are you in these two areas? How free is your communication in these two areas? And so on, so on. Now for the mid Virgo rising. So from the 9 to the 22nd degree Virgo, these Mercury will be going retrograde only in the 4th house. So it's going to be a lot about rethinking, revisiting, talking again, finding a space, straightening your desk and your workspace. Like, do you have a workspace at home? Do you work from home? How good are you at separating, and creating balance between your private life and your work, your family life and your work? Are you not doing that very well? Like, these questions are going to be coming back to you, mid Virgo rising. It will all be about family, but with that Capricorn tone as well. So something that you might be doing or overdoing, or your ambitions that might be shared at home as well. And how can you mix these two areas? All right. There's something about family that you're going to have to revisit, rethink, have that conversation eventually. All right. Now for the late Virgo and the early Libra, we're going to have the Mercury retrograde going between the 4th and the 3rd house. So it might start with a home situation, something that you have to rethink, something that you have to reassess about your home, go back to some sort of family home situation, but it will end up being about your communication skills as well, how you voice things up, finding your voice, being firm with your voice, etc. How do you express yourself? What is your mindset as well? And how clear is your mindset, especially about the things that you believe once Mercury pops back to Sagittarius, but also work. How do you apply your mind to achieving your goals, to creating the structures that you need to achieve those ambitions as well? There's something about the mindset. It will start as a home situation, but it will eventually be also a mindset situation as well. And it could potentially be conversations with siblings if that's part of your reality as well. So family situation, home situation, and then a sibling situation as well that you're going to have to go back and have a conversation about. All right, something like that. Now for the mid Libra rising, and mid will be 9 to 22nd degree. These Mercury will be transitioning your 3rd house only. And again, I think that's a massive emphasis on mindset. How does your mind work? What thoughts do you think every day? It could be a writing process as well. So if you've been writing a book, you've been writing a blog, and you're writing an article and you left it, go back to it. That's a great time for you to go back to it, edit, rewrite, recreate that article, because something good could come out of it, because we have that Mercury Jupiter trine for a while. So something about thinking mindset, perhaps the mindset around your goals as well, and what you believe around your goals, all of that will be under the spotlight for you during this Mercury retrograde. All right. Now for the late Libra rising and the early Scorpio rising, Mercury will be going back from the third to the second house. And that's a bridge between these two houses. So a third house situation will end up having an effect on a second house situation. So perhaps mindset, something that you're writing, something that you're creating there, written word or verbally communicating, that will reverberate in your second house, the house of money. And perhaps is an opportunity that's coming back to you to make money, to profit from. Something that you're going back to, you left it undone or unfinished, and you're going back to, and you're going to finish, and you're going to be able to embrace that into your value system as well. Is the second house, right? Is what we value as well. So something about the third house that will bleed into the second house as well during this Mercury retrograde. Yeah, something that you're going to be rethinking your thoughts, rethinking how you think, how you speak, the words that you choose, the words that you wrote, and how that can have an impact on your money situation as well, and etc. All right. Now for the mid Scorpio, Mercury will be going retrograde in your second house only. So this is going to be about your values, your resources. How do you do resources? How do you build your resources? Are they enough? Are they not enough? How are you working, allocating these resources? Are you putting your resources into the service of your ambitions? Are you clear enough about your ambitions? Are there any belief systems that are preventing you from achieving those ambitions, and so on? So that's the mid Scorpio rising. Now for the late Scorpio rising, which will be the 23rd to the 29th, as well as the early Sag, Mercury retrograde will be going from the second to the first house. So it could be everything that has to do with resources, money, how you deal with money, what you believe about money, how you can use money in relation to your goals, your objectives, your ambitions as well. And all of that, any beliefs that might be preventing you, and etc., that will bleed into the first house. It will then become clear that something about your relationship to yourself is not really a money situation, but your own self-belief or lack thereof. There's going to be an opportunity for you to deal with these issues and to revisit these issues and to work on these issues, to work on who you are and how you see yourself and how that has an impact on how much you earn as well. They're interconnected here with this Mercury retrograde. Now for the mid Sag rising, Mercury will be retrograde only in the first house. And that's going to be all about your ambitions, yourself, your sense of identity, how you express that, how you put your energy into, how much work do you do, how much work you don't do, how clear are you with your message, with your ideas, with who you are as well. Are they interconnected? Are they supporting each other or not? All of those issues will be there for the mid Sag rising, because it will be all about the first house. All right. And how you come across, how you express yourself. Maybe it's about your dress, how you present yourself. Is that supporting the ambitions you're having, the achievements that you want to have, or not? Now for the late Sag and the early Capricorn rising, Mercury will be crossing over your ascendant eventually, so it'll be even very, very strong. At some point, it'll be very strong, the message there on who you are, how you communicate, how you express yourself. It'll be all about your presentation how do you present yourself? Is that allowing you to achieve the things you want to achieve, or is it getting on the way? Is any way that you can refine this process? Yeah. So we'll be going from the first house to the 12th house. And in the 12th house, so bleeding into the 12 will be about unconscious processes as well, unconscious forces, unconscious thoughts, unconscious beliefs, unconscious ideas that might be on in between you and what you want to do in the world, between you and who you want to be or how you want to present yourself. So there's something there that you can align. You can realign, or perhaps get in touch with beliefs that will support your journey, that will support who you want to be and how you want to achieve your goals as well. But there is a connection between the first and the 12th. The clarity of the first house and who you are, with the mysteries of the 12 and everything that's beyond what we see as well. All right. Now, for the mid Capricorn, it will be a Mercury retrograde just in the 12th. It will be all about the hidden thoughts and the hidden processes, and perhaps family inheritance of thoughts around what's achievable, what's not, how you can do your work, how you can't do your work, or where is impossible, or what's possible or impossible. All of this. That's sitting there in the unconscious is something that you're going to have the opportunity to revisit with a mid-degree, ascendant in Capricorn. It's all there hidden in the 12. It could be a time where you can tap into the inner voice, the higher self, the guardian angel that the 12 has as well, and have more clarity around your ambitions in this way. Yeah. Now, for the late Capricorn and the early Aquarius, Mercury retrograde will be going from the 12th to the 11th. So it will be first starting with that sense of mystery, with that process, with the encounter with potential guardian angels or the inner demons as well. That's another 12th house subject, and how you deal with the family conditionings and the family ways of thinking. And it will then bleed into the 11th. It will be about ideals, collective ideals, groups. How do you do group work? How do you share yourself with other people as well? What's your role in these ideals? What's your hope for the future? That's an 11th house subject as well. Now, for the mid Aquarius, and reminding you, mid is from 9 to 22 degrees Aquarius. Mercury will be retrograde on the 11th house only. And it will be all about groups of people, how you communicate in communities. Are you a part of a community? Are you wanting to serve a community? Are you working for an ideal? Is your ambition aligned with ideals or with a specific tribe or not? How are you serving a tribe or not? Those are there. It could also be as simple as situations with friends that you might reconnect with, friends that you might regain contact, and maybe you might get insights about business or insights about beliefs as well when Mercury moves back to Sag. But it could be also reconnecting with friends in the 11th house, reconnecting with your sense of who you are in a group of friends, in a group of people as well. Now, for the late Aquarius rising and the early Pisces rising, Mercury will be going from the 11th to the 10th. So we can start with this level of friends, friendship, hopes for the future, goals for the group. Am I a part of a tribe? Am I, serving a tribe or not? It might be all of that sort of themes here. And then that will bleed into your role in society. What is your role in society? What do you actually want to do? What do you actually want to accomplish? What work do you want to do? What career goals do you have, etc.? Are you working towards the right direction? Are you communicating well with your authoritative figures, and so on? So that's the transition there. Now, for the mid degrees Pisces rising, Mercury will be retrograde only in the 10th house. So it'll be going backwards in your 10th house. And that's all, it's like a Capricorn Mercury. I mean, it will move to Sagittarius as well eventually. But it is a Capricorn Mercury in the house of Capricorn. Be very much about your work, your achievements, your ambitions. What do you want? How do you see yourself out in the world? And how do you want to be seen in the outer world? What role do you want to play? What contribution do you want to bring to the world at large? Who do you want to be? How do you want to do this? So it could be restructuring your business, rebranding your business, rebranding yourself. That's all there as well. opportunities in those areas, opportunities to make money as well. Some sort of opportunity that you thought was gone, but is somehow coming back to you because it's a Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter in Taurus. And Jupiter could potentially be in your second house as well. So it could be a little windfall, something that you could be profiting from. But it will be the 10th house. And for the late Pisces, I already spoke, will be the 10th house bleeding into the 9th house. So that's the first video, the first instance here I did with Aries as well, with early Aries. So that's it for Mercury going retrograde. I hope this is being helpful as giving you insights and ideas on how to use this transit without feeling like something is going to go wrong and you should just avoid life altogether and la la la, you know, how to be empowered to use this cycle of Mercury retrograde to your benefit, right? To your career benefit, to your ambitions and whatnot, to be clearer about what your beliefs are as well once Mercury goes into Sag as well. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Where is Mercury going to be in your chart? What degree is your ascendant? If you have any issues finding your ascendant, let me know. I have a video I've done just to help you with that, so I can link it in the comments as well. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all guys a wonderful week, and I'll be seeing you all on Friday. So take care. Bye bye now.